morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Amanda Hallmark. I am the trainer for the Your DEQ Online project with Oregon DEQ, and we are so thrilled to have you all here with us today for our annual reporting in Your DEQ Online for simple and standard ACDP and Title V permits. I'm joined today by a panel of awesome experts in both air quality programs and in the Your DEQ Online platform, and so you'll be hearing from a couple of folks here today. But first, I would like to just kind of go over a couple of housekeeping items before we start our session. So you may have noticed that this training is being recorded. That recording will be posted to our website, so you will have access to watch it again in the future or send it off to folks that you know are having to miss it today. So that's a resource to look forward to in the future. We are also holding questions to the end. So if you think of a question as we present to you the content we have, please use that Q&A module that is in Zoom. You may see a little widget on your screen that says Q&A with a question mark. You can just click on that and you can enter your questions in there, and our team is on hand to answer those as we go, or we may call them out during our presentation. Anything else that we don't get to during the presentation, we'll have some time at the end to answer as well. And if we don't get to it even then, we will make sure to send it out in written form in future communications with whomever is registered in this session today. So that's it for housekeeping items. We're so excited to have the air quality permitting programs in the Your DEQ Online system, and we are. I'm happy to pass it off here to Matt Hoffman to share more about the process.
Thanks, Amanda. So again, thanks everybody for joining us today. We'll be talking about annual reporting for your simple standard and Title V facilities. So my name's Matt Hoffman. I've worked for DEQ for about 7 years, mostly in air quality, and my current role is a business analyst, helping shepherd the air quality permitting programs into Your DEQ Online, which, just as a reminder, is the agency's new cloud-based environmental data management system. So moving a lot of our paper-based processes into a cloud-based digital system. So just some notes about the presentation. Some of the slides that I'll share have links that are displayed. They might be hyperlinks. We'll provide these in a follow-up email. The whole presentation will be provided, so don't worry about writing these down. Amanda will make sure to get this sent out. We should have it out by the end of this week. And again, this one will be recorded and made available, so if you know anybody that wasn't able to attend today that still wants the information, please direct them that way. So the agenda for today, I'm going to cover a couple topics. So we're going to talk about registering your account in YDO, linking to your permitted facilities. Also, we'll talk about linking to consultant accounts, if that applies. We'll let you know where to find your reporting obligation and how to fill that out. So I'm going to be presenting the first half here, and then for simple standard and Title V facilities, there's a new kind of reporting tool that's part of this system, and we call it an emissions reporting widget. And so one of our emission inventory specialists, Dave Broderick, will be joining after I present to give you much more details on that process and provide a live demonstration of that. Okay, so there are two portals for the system. One is for agency users, that's called the Authority Portal. And then we have one for the public and regulated community, and that's called the Public Portal. So things like public records, public notices, they can be accessed without an account through the Public Portal. But for our regulated facilities, for our consultants, you do need to register for accounts to use the features that are associated with your facilities. So Your DEQ Online will allow electronic access to in-process and submitted applications, which are called submittals and YDO, and reporting obligations, which we'll talk about today, both for annual and for other reporting obligations. And it allows for a variety of online payment options. So one great thing about YDO is that you can track the progress of your submittal. You can see when the agency has received it and at what point they are in processing that. So we're happy to have that increased visibility in this new system. So registering for an account, all air quality permitted facilities other than dry cleaners are using Your DEQ Online. And so all of those permitted facilities will need to register for an account and link to their facilities. So a lot of our sites have regulatory aspects in more than just air, some in water and land. So if you've already registered an account for a program that's gone live previously, you don't need to register another account. You can have a single account that we will tie all of your facilities to. However, if you did register already for, say, a water or land program, you still need to link to your air permitted facilities. So now that air permitting is live, even if you already have an account, you need to go in and link your air facilities to that account. So facility linking is a two-step process. So one is that you need to sign up for your account, and this next piece is facility linking. And so there are two types of accounts you can sign up for. A responsible official account, which is essentially the person that is responsible for the facility, responsible for the permit, and submitting reports or otherwise that are associated with that permit. For our Title V facilities, the responsible official should be the responsible official that is on the permit, either by name or by title. So that is the RO account type. The second account type is the consultant account type. And even though it's called consultant, it is not just for environmental consultants. The consultant role can also be used for, again, for an example, for a Title V facility. If you have one RO, but you have multiple people that work at the facility that you want to help with submittals or reporting, but they are not the responsible official on the permit, they can sign up for consultant accounts. And the only difference between the RO and the consultant account is that the RO is the person that has the authority to click submit at the end of completing one of your obligations or applications or otherwise. The consultant has the same access. They can fill out applications on behalf of the RO. They can fill out reports. The only thing they can't do is press the submit button. And so that's the difference between the two accounts. When you choose an account type, whether it's RO or consultant, once you complete that, it's fixed. You cannot change that. If you sign up for either an RO or consultant account and you determine at a later time that you need to change that account type, do submit a help desk ticket to us and we can work on deleting the initial account and getting you switched over to the proper account type. So on the screen here, we see a very high level process, and I really just want to encourage folks on some future slides. I'm going to show, some additional resources, instructional resources for how to sign up, how to link your consultants. It's a very stepwise process. It's fairly simple, but you need to follow each step to make sure that things are done correctly. And so there is a guide, a comprehensive guide that I'm going to be providing a link to that I really encourage you to use. We've seen some folks have issues with getting consultants linked or otherwise. And when that guide is provided and the step-by-step directions are followed, it seems to be able to address that. So we have some instructional videos on our website as well that will walk you through, but I really recommend using that comprehensive guide as a way to walk you through this. So you'll sign up for your account. You'll go through an identity verification process. That's we use a third-party vendor for that. It's just so that we can assure ourselves that you are who you say you are. Once that information is collected and your identity is verified, DEQ never sees that. We don't ever take possession of that. The second step is to link to your submittal groups. And so in this picture here, we can see that I've selected for air emission inventory. There are various submittal groups for all of the different environmental programs for air, water, and land. You only need to check the box for the submittal groups that would apply to you. So for Title V facilities, you should select Title V. You should probably also select ACDP in the case that you wanted to complete a construction permit. And most or probably all of our Title V facilities are emission inventory reporters, and so you would select that as well. For our ACDPs, you may only need to select ACDP. You may select ACDP and emission inventory. If you are already a source that is called into Cleaner Air Oregon, you can also select that environmental interest, and that's the middle group. But please only select the groups that apply to your facility. If you select more than that, when I'm coming in and approving these links, I typically would need to remove those because it will just kind of clutter up your dashboard if you have access to things that you don't need. So the submittal group is one piece. After you do that, you're going to need to link to your facility. And so in the second picture here, you'll see where our site picker is. And when you're looking for your site, make sure to use your 6-digit source ID, the same ID that you've been using for a long time. It's the first 6 digits of your permit number, the county code, followed by a dash, followed by 4 digits. If you use this, it's the best way to ensure that you're going to find your air permitted facility. We have a lot of sites that are in the system. We do have some asbestos duplicate sites, and we want to make sure that you get tied to the right site. So please use the source ID when searching. So for air quality, you will find your site and you will request to link to it. So you won't automatically be linked when you first sign up. Once you do that, the request will come to DEQ. We will review that, and within 3 to 5 business days, we will approve that link to your facility. In many cases, we're getting this done in quicker than 3 to 5 days, but please do allow us that amount of time before you submit a help desk ticket to follow up if you're still not linked by that point. We're requiring this for a couple of reasons. One is that we want to make sure that you are linking to the correct facility. Second reason is that YDO is designed to handle confidential business information, and ensuring that the correct parties are linked to the correct facilities is one way for us to help safeguard that information. Another piece of that, when you're registering your account, please use your company email address for your contact address, because that's one of the methods we use to verify that you're seeking to link to the correct facility. So the next step would be to link your consultants, if you have any, or any other employees at your facility that have a consultant role. You need to actively link them to your site, and you need to link them to your submittal groups. And so what you see here is just very high level. Again, on the next slide, I'm going to provide a link that is to the detailed instruction manual of how to set up your account, how to link facilities, how to link consultants. And on page 17 of that guide is where the consultant linking process is described. And so again, we've seen some facilities have difficulty for that. So really just want to recommend you reference that part of the manual to get some help with this. Consultants are searched by email address. And so this requires that your consultants that you're seeking to link be signed up in the system prior to you attempting to link them. If they're not in yet, you will not see them. So you search by email, you would select your consultant, and then you can add permissions to the submittals and the sites that you want to associate them with. If you are the RO for a facility that might have more than one location in Oregon, like some of our mills, you might have one consultant that deals with one location and another consultant that deals with another. And so you'll have the ability to grant permissions based on who works at which facility. So the arrow right there is pointing towards the guide that I've been talking about. So that is your best resource for detailed information on how to do the stuff I've already talked about. So again, we'll send out this presentation in the next day or two, so don't worry about writing down this link. I'm also going to have a QR code on the last slide that if you use that, it'll take you to the main air quality landing page. And there's some pretty standard navigation to the different aspects of YDO from there, ranging from account registration to the help desk and otherwise. So just wanted to highlight that. Okay, so that is account registration. Now we're going to switch gears over to your reporting obligation. So the steps to locate your reporting obligation are as follows. So the first thing you would do is go and log into the public portal. It will bring you to your what we call your dashboard, which is your main landing screen. If you had previously navigated to another aspect of the system, when you log back in, it will take you back to that spot. So you may need to navigate back to your dashboard area. The area or the arrow here shows the fourth icon down, which is the upcoming obligations icon. You want to click on that. Once you click on that, it's going to show you a list of all of your upcoming reporting obligations. It's important to note that if you have already started an obligation, it will not appear in upcoming obligations. This shows only ones that have not been started. If you've started it already, there's another icon for pending submittals where you would locate the one that is currently in process. If you have just one facility and one permit, you're probably just going to see one annual reporting obligation that's been sent to you so far. If you're an RO or a consultant that has multiple facilities or multiple permits in your portfolio, then you should see the reporting obligations associated with each one of those permits. You would select and this shows a screenshot for a general, but it looks basically the same for Simple Standard Title V. You would click that pink pencil icon to edit the obligation. And then in the fourth screenshot there, again, this shows for a general, but it will look very similar for a Simple Standard Title V. The submittal or the reporting obligation will open up. And it will open up for your specific permit type. So Dave Broderick is going to be jumping on here in a few and actually demonstrating what that looks like to get you some more information. But essentially, you would fill out the required fields. You can see there on the picture that if they're red, they are required. On the different tabs, if you see the exclamation mark, that also indicates that something within that tab has not been completed that is required. Some permit types may also have attachment requirements. If that's the case, that will be indicated, and you'll need to attach that before you submit. And then finally on tab 5, you would go through the verification statements and submit and turn it over to DEQ. So in this instance, if you were the consultant, you could complete tabs 1 through 4. On the review tab on tab 4, you can download PDF summary of the application of the form fields that you filled in. And that's a good way to review everything before it's submitted. But the consultants would not be able to complete tab 5, which is the submittal tab. The RO account is the only person that can complete tab 5. As you also see in this picture, the reporting obligation will automatically associate with your facility. So there's no selection that needs to be done there. Okay. So before I hand it over to Dave, here's that QR code. This will take you to the AQ main landing page. And again, we'll send this out in the presentation notes to this email group. So just a few other things I wanted to highlight. This is a new system. We put a lot of work into it, and we think that it's functioning well. but this is the first time that we have done annual reporting. There are a lot of sources that are going to be doing this. So we do anticipate there could be some hiccups. So one, thank you for your patience and your willingness to engage in the new system. But also, if you find something that looks awry in your annual report or any other functionality of the system, whether it seems like a bug or whether something might be missing, please do submit a help desk ticket so that we can be made aware of that. And if it is something that's incorrect, that we can seek to fix that. If you submit a help desk request, please include your source number. That'll help us better provide you service. Let's see. So, and one other point, when you are linking to consultants, again, you must select the submittal and the facility to grant them access. And again, reference that guide for that. So that's it for me, Amanda. Are we going to take questions yet, or are we going to proceed through the entire thing before questions?
Yeah, I thought there are a few things just around account registration that are worth calling out here as Dave kind of gets ready with his demo. And most of them have already been answered to in writing, folks, so you can reference that Q&A module. But just to call them out, you can have multiple ROs linked to one facility. So that's a question that we have here. There's also a question about if you serve as a consultant for one permit type and then a RO for something else, do you need two separate accounts? And the answer is yes. And we don't want you to set up two RO accounts. But if you have different obligations for different permit types, then yes, you would create one account as an RO, in this case for air quality, and then one account as a consultant for water quality. So that's a really good question that may apply to some of you. So I definitely wanted to call that one out. Let's see here. There are some other specific questions in here about folks' individual experiences thus far. So we're going to hold those to the end if we have time, folks. But let's see here. I think that's probably, I'm just cruising through anything else that applies to. Oh, then the one other thing I wanted to call out really quickly is the question on if a consultant can notify the RO when it's time for them to review it. And that is part of, and please feel free to jump in here, Matt, but I believe that's part of the submittal, right? There's in the review step, they can click notify RO.
I'm not certain of that, Amanda, but I will
Okay.
follow up.
Okay, yeah, I believe that is the case that you'll be able to do that in the submittal, but we'll confirm that for you all before we hang up here. And so yeah, let's go ahead and pass it over to Dave for some demo, and then we can see what we have time for question-wise at the end.
All right, thanks, Amanda. I'm going to show you a live demonstration of the emissions inventory calculation tab or the emissions inventory widget. So this is going to be on simple standard annual reports or Title V annual reports. That tab is exactly the same for both types of facilities. So I've got a fake facility. I've set up my own RO account. So when I first log on, down here it shows upcoming obligations. So I can enter it here. Also, Matt showed you there's always the icon over here on the left where you can click that and it'll show you upcoming obligations. So we'll hit the little pencil to edit. That'll open up the submittal. And so this site is a simple standard. So the big differences between this and a Title V are just some of the questions on this first tab, on the source tab. And that's really just because the difference in the permits and the reporting requirements. And so the demonstration I wanted to give you is this fourth tab over, it's activity and emission, and it's how you can calculate your annual emissions. So what this is just annual emissions for like a PSCL comparison to show compliance. If your permit has a requirement for documenting like a 12-month rolling average or a 30-day maximum, something like that. Those still need to be done and attached. Just like in your paper forms, you would include your emissions inventory, and then your 12-month rolling averages or whatever would be attached to that document. And yeah, the other thing I wanted to point out on this first tab is there's this question about greenhouse gases, and it's just calculating to show you if you are above that trigger and you have to greenhouse gas report. If you fill this out, which these are required fields, this isn't greenhouse gas reporting. This is just simply a tool for you and for us to see if your emissions are over or under that trigger. So that's not the same as greenhouse gas reporting. All right. So here on the, the other two tabs on this basic, we've got a list of stacks, which this one is blank. I didn't put any in. Most facilities just have some default data here. Some facilities, there's real data, and that there's nothing really to do. It's read only. If you saw something on there that was like not correct, you can contact your permit writer and we can get that cleared up. Same with a emission units tab. This is a read-only tab, and it lists your emission units. These could be from your permit, but they also could be from your air toxics emissions inventory. So even if you have some emission units listed here, you might not be reporting this on your annual report form. There might not be criteria pollutants. And yeah, there's nothing for you to do on either of those two tabs except to review the information. So on the emissions inventory widget here, there's the steps, overall steps are to enter your activity, your annual activity, calculate emissions, and then you can choose to accept your DEQ Online's calculated amounts, or you could type in the amount that you felt was more correct. So those are kind of the steps, and I'll show you. There's two ways to do this. This facility only has 7 emission units, so it's going to be pretty easy to go into each one and type a throughput and kind of do it manually. But some of our larger facilities have over 100 emission units, and so that's a lot of typing and going into these individually. So there is a bulk import method, and I'll show you that second. So first, we'll assume you're a relatively small facility. When you open up an emission unit, there are 2 sub-tabs, activity information and then emissions. So on the first one, activity information, the required field is the material throughput. So this was the aggregate insignificant in years, so it's just 1. So you put in your activity, and then you go over to the emissions sub-tab, and you can hit calculate. And then YDO calculates over here the column labeled system calculated value. So it came up with 1 ton for each of these pollutants. That looks correct. They came from facility emission factors, and I like them. And so I'm going to click this button here. It says use system calculated emission. It's going to say, are you sure you want to do that? And here now it populated the column that you're reporting to DEQ, your annual emissions, 1 ton. So that's pretty straightforward. We'll just go to the next one. So this is a boiler, natural gas. We'll put in the throughput. We'll go to the emissions sub-tab. We're going to hit calculate. And you can see over here, it calculates some emissions. But the nitrogen oxides does not have an emission factor. In this permit, it's a CEM value. So there's no emission factor. And what you're going to want to do is you're always going to want to do the emission or the pollutants that have emission factors first. So I'm going to review these. The emission factors look good. Calculated values look good. So I'm going to use the system generated values. But then second, you need to type in your tons from your CEM data. So once you put that in, you can see like these first two emission units now that the pink has gone away and the little warning that there's required fields have gone away. And so you just go through each one and do that. You'd always start on the activity. This is the boiler. This is, I put this as like diesel backup. So you'd put your fuel usage and yeah, calculate. So they look good, or let's say they don't look good. You can just type in here the correct amount. So you do not have to use the system generated numbers. And once you go through, down here at the bottom, there's the save icon. And once you do that, that's going to populate this fourth tab, which is an emission summary. So you'll want to go through, enter all the data, make sure you save, and then check this to your expected, what you expect the emissions to be.
Dave, let me
Yep.
pause you for just a second. We have a couple questions that I think would be worth answering
Sure.
here. So one, are emission units already built into the system for the facility, or does the facility need to build them out? And then also just a question on what do we do if the emission units are missing? I think those two go together.
Yeah, both super good questions. Yep. So when you open your submittal, it's site specific. All this is pre-populated. So when you saw, I went from my RO site and I opened it, all this is already here for my site. So your emission units will be there. And all your emission factors from your permit should be in there. So we migrated all that data into your DEQ Online. If something is missing, I would put in, go to the help desk and put in a ticket, and just so we can resolve it and make sure. I would just like to talk to us so we can get your permit writer involved, and we can make sure that it does need to be added, and we can do that and kind of reissue the submittal. So yeah, that would be a help desk ticket. All right. The other way to do this would be to use this bulk import. And so there's this at the very top, there's a little button, and it opens up a new text box. And what we're going to do is we're going to download a CSV file. And again, this is site specific, and it'll have your emission inventory data in it. So we'll click that download emission unit data. That's going to go to your downloaded file folder. And you can open up the CSV folder, and it'll open up into Excel. And here, so it lists all the emission units and SEC codes, and sometimes there'll be some activity description. And what we're going to need to fill out is this column F, which is the annual activity. And there it also reminds you what your units are. So I'm just going to fill that out real quick. And then what you're going to want to do is we're going to just copy and paste this right into YDO. So you're going to pick all the data without the first row, so without the headers, but all the data. And I'm just going to Control C for copy. And then in this box right here that says copy and paste here, you're just going to Control V to paste. That brings that data into YDO and pre-populates this preview box. And you can see over here the annual activity, second column from the right. That's the data I just entered. And again, this is really designed, I think, if you have 60 or 100 emission units, that's just going to be a lot easier way to get this data in. And then you're going to scroll to the very bottom, and you can hit import data. And then you can see most of the emission units, the required fields went away because the activity data got moved in. You still need to go into each one and calculate the emissions, and then choose to use your DEQ Online's calculated value or type your own in. But getting all your activity data in all at once is a lot quicker. So let me show you. Right, so that was a number I typed in from the CSV file on that activity and information sub tab. Go back to the missions one. Still nothing's calculated. You can calculate here inside the mission unit, or actually at the very bottom, there's a calculate button that'll calculate all of them. So you could do that. And then the system calculated value is populated. And you can decide to use system calculated emissions. And we are sure. And so that one's done. I want to look at this one more. We'll look at production line number 1. And this is another one that has a required field, and that's because it's a mass balance calculation. So on the activity subtab, the 58 came through the import. We hit the calculate button, so there's some system calculated values. So we're going to do that first. We're going to accept those. And then we're going to type in our mass balance number. And then you'll want to save. And I just did both methods, and that usually doesn't work super good. It gets confused. So the purpose or the idea is you do one or the other. You don't, if you're putting in activity manually, there's no reason to use this bulk import. So you just choose one or the other. Everything I just went over is covered in the instructions. So from the DEQ page, under ACDP and under Title V, there's specific instructions for filling out your annual report, and both of them step through all this. So I just want to reiterate that this is your annual emissions. And so for like a Title V, this is the R1001B forms, or for simple standard, it's your reporting requirement to calculate annual emissions. And usually it references what section in your specific permit that the emission factors are listed and how to do the calculation. But that doesn't mean that's all your emissions. Like if you have a 12-month rolling average or a 30-day maximum, those are still going to be attached on this attachment tab. If you do have a permit that your annual emissions is the only thing that you need to attach, this attachment tab is required. So you're going to have to attach something. And so I'd ask that you just do a blank PDF that says, my permit doesn't require any additional attachments, something to that effect, and then attach that just to clear that warning. And I think that's everything I wanted to show you. Yeah, so if you get on to your submittal and emission factors are incorrect or emission units don't make sense to you, let's work together and get it cleaned up and fix it. And the best way to do that is to start a ticket with the help desk.
Thanks, Dave. So we do have a couple questions I think worth discussing here, and maybe while your screen is still up in case we need to point to something. Let's see here. Let me start actually with in the annual reporting widget, if a numerical data entry box is required, but the data is not applicable and not required in the permit, what can be entered into that field as NA or other text is not allowed in the system. This is related to throughput.
Yeah, so it would be a 0.
Perfect.
And let me show you. So in the if we put 0, you can type into this annual activity description. So if for whatever reason you could add a comment here that says, boiler not to run in 2024, you can add that and put 0.
Okay. Can multiple emission units emissions be reported under one with combined throughput if they're all identical units?
So if when you get onto your form, if you have 3 identical boilers and they're labeled 1, 2, and 3, no, you're going to have to put in the information for each one. Going forward, we can totally, for next year, we can totally combine them. And there's a feature built into the submittal form, but it's kind of, we don't have time to do that right now, I don't think. We could try if somebody wanted to get a hold of me. But going forward, if that's a request that you have, we certainly could do that for next year. And I know some of the data centers that have 100 engines that are identical. None of them are set up where you have to go and put in for each individual one. Those ones are usually, we just grouped them by engine type. So you will see like engine 1 through 48 is one line, and 49 through 105 is the second line.
Great. For the attachments on Title V permits, can we attach for semi-annual compliance certifications?
So that is for the Title V facilities. I don't have one open, but that is built into the form logic. And so you'll just have to fill that section out.
Great.
I believe
And
that's the same with like the fee forms also for the Title V.
Yes, and will MRTs need to be added to the activity and emissions tab manually?
MRT.
That came in from someone anonymous. If you could add a little bit more or raise your hand if you want to give us a little bit more there. Okay, so we'll circle back, see if more information about that pops up. Oh, sorry, monthly rolling totals.
Oh, exactly. That you will have to attach those. So I know a lot of permits have a 12-month rolling average. I've seen a lot lately that have like a 30-day maximum. And yeah, just like last year, you have two tables, one of your annual emissions and then your 12-month rolling average. So those get attached.
Awesome. What about, let's see here. There's some general questions. If you need to modify EFs, is that possible?
It isn't. So most of that is kind of grayed out, and that's because it's read only. So the emission factors here, yeah, are not something you can change, and you shouldn't be able to, right? I mean, they're in the permit. If they're incorrect, help desk ticket, and we'll get that resolved. But if you want to change emission factors, that's a permit mod, and we have to go through the process. If they're just incorrect, absolutely, we can get that fixed.
Awesome. So just some questions about mailing. So do we still need to mail annual reports to DEQ, or does YDO cover the mailing requirement?
I can take this one. YDO does cover the mailing requirement. So for reports or otherwise that you're sending to DEQ typically that are now sent through YDO, you do not need to send a paper copy. However, if you have reporting obligations that are outside of DEQ, such as EPA reporting obligations, that is still separate from YDO, and so you'll need to complete those according to your regular process.
Thanks, Matt. That actually answered 2 questions that we had flagged here. So the other one was, will this report be forwarded to EPA, or do I still need to do that? So Tim, you have your answer for that question now. And then let's see. I also, folks, at this point, since we're in the Q&A section of our presentation, I will also invite you to raise your hand if you have a question and you would like to come off mute. And I see that Jared, you do have your hand raised. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. And feel free to ask your question.
I think you guys answered it already. Sorry if
Perfect.
I raised my hand. Yep.
No problem. I'm glad that we could help. Anybody else who might have a question, feel free to raise your hand. let's see here. We have Dylan. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. I actually was trying to complete a consultant account for myself, and it looks like I got rejected all 3 times for the identity verification portion. I'm not really sure why, but I'm just wondering what's the next step so that I can still continue to try to create a consultant account.
Yeah, so we have a form it's called an ESA. So your next option is it's just sort of a manual version. So what you'll do is it should actually be in that same screen where you were putting in your verification through Nexus Lexis. I think I said that backwards, LexisNexis. But yeah, so at that same form, you'll see you can print it out, you can sign and mail. We do need an ink signature, so you will mail it in. But you will also see an email address there to our help desk. And so if you email a copy while it's in the snail mail, they can go ahead and give you that access.
Okay.
And so that's how you would get past that verification. Just to clarify, that's specifically for an RO account. So we don't need verification for a consultant,
Okay.
but for an RO, then that's how you would kind of get past that if all 3 attempts fail.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
if we have an RO for our site already, maybe I was just trying to complete the wrong account, so I can double check and
okay.
try that again.
Yeah, perfect. And that's actually a good call out too, folks, is if you do accidentally sign up for the wrong account, please do put in a help desk ticket, and our help desk team can help you switch to the correct type of account.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah. All right. I see a few other hands up. So I am going to open up the mic for Jason.
Did you just unmute me?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to revisit that question around the RO accounts versus a consultant account. So I already have an account for water permits under the RO side. You said that we have to create a new account as a consultant, or can we just not certify the results and just have our RO for the air side, after I've prepared the report, have them go ahead and certify it?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you are serving as a consultant for a different permit type, then you can create a separate account to manage that.
I'm trying to avoid creating additional accounts is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. It should also, if you already have an account set up, you should be able to,
Yeah, I just wanted to prepare it, and then I'll have to add our responsible official, add an account, but so I can just go ahead and do the report, but then have him go through and approve it.
Yeah. Okay. The system should work that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like to move forward that way, but if you're running into issues, then we do typically advise folks to go ahead and set up a separate account as a consultant as well.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. I am unmuting Marta.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. The first question is very simple. In addition to submitting this annual Title V report via Your DEQ Online, should we still send it via regular postal mail this year?
No.
So no snail mail.
No snail mail.
The EQ.
Okay, and not the ACDP. Same thing. Just YDO, right?
That's correct. If you still have obligations to send paper submittals or otherwise to EPA or any other agency outside of DEQ, you will still need to do that, but not to DEQ.
I see. Thank you. The second question, I actually sent this question just a couple of minutes, maybe at the beginning of the training. So my RO was able to link the two air quality permit reports, basically, one for our Title V annual report and one for ACDP general permit annual report. And he sent me a screenshot, and I can see that he was able to add the submittal group. It is right now, and it is on my consultant account. I am able to see that. And I don't see under the sites row, I don't see any sites indicated, but I still see the green thumbs up. But something is, I think something is incomplete, might be incomplete because these two additional newly added submittal group is not coming up under my submittal as a consultant. So he may still need to add the specific sites to these two permit reports. Is that correct?
Yes, that sounds like it could be the case. The consultant linking, it is a very stepwise process. And if you miss one piece, the facilities or the submittals won't show up. So I'm going to put this into the chat for everybody, this link. And this is the instructional document for account registration. And MARTA, specifically starting on page 17, is where the consultant linking process is discussed. And so if you could suggest that the RO reference that guide, try to complete that task again of linking you to those specific submittal groups and facilities. And then if they're still having difficulty after that, to please submit a help desk ticket and we'll help you get it sorted out.
Thank you so much. I sent him that PDF document, and I specified the page number. So I think I'm sure that he was using that, but something that made me think that he sent me. So he saw that he can see the new submitter permissions, but there are still no sites associated with them and no option to add any, as it indicates facility is not required for the authorization. So apparently he was not able for some reason to add the sites, and he might have been under the assumption that it was not required, but it is actually.
Okay. Yeah, if the guide provided is not helpful and doesn't help resolve the problem, please have him submit a help desk request and we'll look into that specific case and reach out to help.
Thank you so much. And I know it is, I can look it up, but what is the easiest way to get a hold of YDO help desk or submit a ticket?
Yeah, I will put that link into the chat as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we'll also make sure that all of those resources those links are sent out in a follow-up email as well to folks. And we do have a few more hands that are raised, and I just wanted to be cognizant of time here. So just to kind of give folks a heads up that we'll continue to stay on and answer these questions for the 3 hands that are up. And if you have more questions, please do continue to put them in the Q&A section, and we'll make sure that we get written responses back to everybody. So
Amanda, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I did put a couple links in the chat. I'm not sure if that's viewable to everybody. So if it's not, we'll certainly follow up with these links.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it should not be showing up for other folks right now, but we will make sure that you get them. So let's see here. The next person with their hand raised is Jared again. You are unmuted.
I did have a question. If we had a different emission factor for a performance type thing, and it was only for like 2 months out of the year, I'm assuming that we just need to reach out to our permit writer in that situation to see how they would like us to submit.
Yeah, yep. Right, and that's a good point. There are also times when you do a modification or a renewal in the middle of the year. The mission factors that are in your submittal are the kind of the ones that are in your permit on whatever December 31st. And so in those cases, yeah, let's work with the permit writer and see if they want you to add that as supplement information or we can work that out. I think that's a pretty rare instance. I will point out that somebody asked a question in the Q&A if they can add a pollutant, and there is an add a pollutant button down here. So if you decide, you just click it, adds a line. If you want to report that air toxic, you can add it manually.
Great, thank you. I am opening up the microphone for Tom.
Yeah, thanks. Quick question. You may have covered this early on before I started focusing. So I already have an account for another permit. So where on the dashboard do I go and add another permit to my account?
Yeah, Dave, are you able to demonstrate where you would add on an extra permit once you already have an account?
You guys can help guide me, but I think you go down, just the last icon is your account. And then the second tab over is account type. And then you can use the search bar, and like Matt was saying, use your the 6-digit number, the 2 digits hyphen 4-digit to search for a site. Was that?
That's it. Yeah, actually, I just started focusing when you got there. I didn't see how you got there, and then
Okay.
so
Yep. So it's account type
Yep.
under my account. So that's the last icon, account type, and yeah, I don't know. So you click the facility and you click the which groups, reporting groups, and then you got to hit the add.
Yeah, make sure you click that add
Right.
button. Yeah, so you'll want to make sure that you add the facility first, or your site is the other terminology that we use there, and then from there that your permits will get added.
Great, thanks. And then just related to that is when I'm do this for the annual emissions report, is there a printout so that when I'm done, I can print this out and use that to submit to another agency?
Yep. Let me see. When you from this, I think it's from the submit tab, you can download a copy or print a copy.
Yep.
So you go into submit, oh, so there's the review step and then the submission. I think once you have to fill all this out and you have to hit submit, then it'll ask you
Yeah,
if you want to print a
that's right.
copy.
Yeah, there will be, it's all documented in the user guide, so please reference that, but there will be a little PDF icon that you can click on, and then it will download it as a PDF for you. Yeah, and I just to back up really quickly to your other question, just to remind you that once those permits are added, it will take the 3 to 5 business days for you to possibly, for you to see things that are added, because they do have to go through review on our side, and our staff do need to make sure that it gets approved first. So just a heads up there. Yep, that before you see that beautiful green thumbs up icon, that's how you know that it's still under review.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am going to. Oh, I saw some hands have dropped. I'm going to go ahead and open up Shauna's mic.
Hi, just 2 quick questions. One of them is on the obligations on my site, it is showing that I have a simple permit due February 15th, but my permit says it's due March 15th. Do I just go to YDO to have that changed?
Yeah, so Shauna, if you could please submit a help desk ticket and reference that specific site and permit and the date that's listed in your permit. So when we set up these reporting obligations, we relied on some data within our compliance and enforcement database, and in some cases that's not completely up to date and accurate. So for your case, we would need to reissue that reporting obligation with the alternative due date. So please do submit a ticket.
Okay, and then my second question is, it's not towards Title 5 or the ACDPs, But when I went into my obligations, I noticed there was no obligations for the greenhouse gas reporting. Haven't been uploaded yet, or is that a different department to ask?
Yeah, that is a different group, and they should have contact information on their pages of our external website, so they can probably guide you there.
I don't believe that they've put out the obligation yet, though.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely different program. And it should guide you to reach out to Bill Brady, but I would refer to that website on the email that they prefer to receive those requests from.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then our final hand, let's see here, Jared is back and you are unmuted, Jared.
I think that was a mistake as well.
Okay.
Sorry.
Excellent. So that's everybody with their hands up for now. There are lots of questions still open in the Q&A, so we will get to working on getting those answered for you all. I apologize for not getting to all of them during the session, but it is officially 12:01 and we want to get you back to the rest of your day. So thank you so much for joining us today. As a reminder, we will be sending out some materials to you so you have lots of reference to what we've talked about today, and we sure hope that this has helped you along on our journey to our online platform.
And Amanda, just to confirm, the Q&A, will that be sent out to all participants after we answer those?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll include that with our follow-up with all the other links. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.